I'm John Rose. I'm a senior advisor to the Vietnam War Commemoration Office in Washington, D.C. And with me this afternoon is Major General Jim Jackson, the director of that center. General Jackson, may we start off by asking you, the 29th of March has been set aside as a very special day for Vietnam War veterans. What does it mean to you?
Well, not so much to me, but to my organization. 29 March is a very special day because that's the one day the president and the country has set aside to recognize and honor those who served during that time period. It came about because some good people in the government decided it was the right thing to do. And of course, we see it as important to us because it's the Vietnam Veterans Day. And this year it falls on Sunday. And unfortunately, with the COVID-19 issue going on across the country, it makes it a little harder for us to make contact. Thus, we're trying to do this on the social side of the house, a social media piece.
What would you like to say to veterans and their families, their spouses, that are watching this program?
Well, what I would share with you is something that I experienced. And I came in 1971. So as an infantryman, by the time I got to my first unit, they weren't sending infantrymen over to Vietnam at the time. But I will tell you that everybody I worked for throughout my 32 years, and every NCO above the grade of staff sergeant, were Vietnam veterans. And so that group of people took it upon themselves to take a brand new second lieutenant and coach them and teach them. And so if anything positive has come out of my career, it's directly linked to those people. The other thing is that the Army of today, the military of today, all services, were the child born and raised by Vietnam veterans. The senior people came home, rewrote doctrine, bought new equipment, set new standards. And then the younger folks who came back were charged with implementing those things and making it work. And so the success of all that is clearly evident today with the fact that we have the best in the world military, and we see it every day with their accomplishments overseas. And so the Vietnam veterans ought to feel very, very good about that. That's their legacy as far as I'm concerned. I think that's what they've left the country, and they did so under some very, very difficult circumstances. Everybody knows when they came home, they did not receive any fanfare or any warm welcome. In fact, many of them received just the opposite. So the country now, 50 years later, has decided it's time to do this. And we've seen a lot of great involvement by organizations across the country to do just that. And so I'm very proud to see that the country recognized a mistake made, and they've gone to correct that, tried to figure out a way to make that happen. They're doing that every day. And unfortunately, right now, we're in a little bit of a hiccup in the system because of the social gathering problems we have, but we're finding other ways. And I hope the veterans understand that.
You have had the opportunity to travel throughout the country, from Washington, D.C. out to California, and to address veterans groups. What impression do you have from your perspective in meeting with these groups and the insights that they provide, or the reaction that they provide to you?
Well, two things. One, I would say, comes from two different groupings. One, from the side of the veteran. The veterans are, for the most part, 99.9%, are very appreciative that the country is finally doing this. The Vietnam veterans never asked for anything. All they wanted was the country's gratitude for the service they provided at the country's beck and call. And the second thing is that the organizations that we've tapped into across the country have provided us with their time, their energies to help reach veterans all across the country, because otherwise our reach for the Washington, D.C. area is relatively limited. But we've got organizations all across the country, over about 12,000 of them, that are helping us every day. And it's just an amazing thing to see. And so what you got is the veterans who are very appreciative of the gratitude, and you got the rest of the organizations that are very happy to be able to be part of fixing a problem that took place 50 years ago. And so it's a very warm feeling when we go out and see this happening, and we all come home and tell our stories, and it's pretty much commonplace that the American people have signed up for this, and the veterans are receiving it with the grace and dignity that they showed 50 years ago when they came home.
Do you have a memorable experience in your presentations to various veterans groups that stick out that you will remember?
Well, it's kind of hard to do that because they're all different. But I will tell you that I've had the opportunity to go to 3 gatherings of former POWs. Rather large group, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150, 200 of them that will show up. When you meet with that group, you can't help but be humbled and walk away with a sense of better understanding of the psyche of this country. Those people endured tremendous difficulty in their term of captivity, but they also showed a great grace when they came home. And I've never met a bitter one of them. They've all reconciled in their own way, and they've all moved on, and they are all just a great bunch of people to be around. You just can't help but feel good when you're with those people. So that's just one thing, but we see the same kind of thing at almost every event, large, small, doesn't really matter. The veterans are doing a great job accepting, and the American people are doing a great job of providing that gratitude.
A final question. You have had the opportunity to travel throughout the country to meet with these various groups. What has it meant to you personally?
Well, anybody who served, when they finally leave the military, they'll be asked numerous times, what do you miss? And of course, in most of us, we miss the people, because the people come with a special attitude and an acceptance of dedication to a cause, which is the defense of our country and our Constitution. Being able to give back to those kinds of people and to just take some time to where we're helping the country provide a sense of gratitude to a group of people who 50 years ago were denied that, who were asked to serve under very difficult circumstances wherever they served across the world. And then they came home and the country basically shunned them. The ability to facilitate the change and the correcting of that monstrous deed is very gratifying. And as I said before, everybody I worked for were in that category. I never heard a single one of them ask for anything in the way of gratitude or thanks from the country. But you know in their heart, it bothered them and they wanted it. And so the ability to give back to some of those people who helped teach me and coach me as I moved in my career is just, it's a great opportunity.
That's a wonderful insight. Sir, you've served for over 3 years now as the director of this organization. Are there any comments that you'd like to make to fellow Vietnam veterans that are out there listening to this broadcast?
Yeah, one thing when I speak, I normally ask the veterans this, and I remind them that we've touched about 2.6 million veterans as we can calculate it across the country. Of those who served who are still alive, we think we got about another 2 million we should be able to get. And so I offer a challenge to all the veterans. Every veteran knows other veterans who don't attend these events. Every veteran who goes to one knows 3 or 4 or 5 of them that aren't there. And if we don't find them, they'll pass away never experiencing the country's gratitude. And I ask veterans to help us get the veterans who don't join things normally, but get them out and get them to come to these events and give the country the opportunity to share the gratitude that they're trying to do right now. And and to share the thanks and to honor them for their service to the nation. And so in the future events, I hope veterans help us by doing that so we can get more of them before.
Thank you, sir. That concludes this interview. I am most grateful for your time and for your insights. Thank you.
You're very welcome, John. Thank you.